Welcome back to Us Mint Mysteries. Today, we're diving deep into the world of presidential dollar coins that could be hiding in your pocket change or tucked away in an old jar at home. These aren't just any coins, these are ultra-rare treasures worth shocking amounts of money, some climbing well into the six figures and beyond. Imagine holding a simple golden-colored dollar coin, only to discover it could pay for a brand new house or even your retirement. That's the kind of jaw-dropping surprises we're about to uncover. So, buckle up, because by the end of this video, you may never look at your spare change the same way again. And before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next rare coin mystery that could change your life. The year was 2000, the start of a brand new millennium, and the U.S. Mint decided to honor one of the most important figures in American history, Sacagawea. The golden-colored dollar coin featuring her image, carrying her infant son Jean-Baptiste, was meant to be a coin of the future. Smooth, shining, with a unique golden hue unlike anything Americans had seen in their pocket change before. But here's the shocking truth: while most of these Sacagawea dollars are worth only $1, a few rare varieties have skyrocketed to jaw-dropping prices. And this is where collectors lose their minds. Now, in fine condition, just like the one we're looking at, most Sacagawea dollars will trade for only a small premium. Maybe $2, $5, or even $10, depending on condition. Nothing special, right? But what if I told you there's a specific version of the 2000 Sacagawea that has sold for over $450,000 at auction? That's right, a single coin that looks almost ordinary could be worth more than most people's entire retirement savings. Here's how this happened. In the year 2000, a small number of Sacagawea dollars were accidentally struck using state quarter dies. These so-called Cheerios dollars were placed inside Cheerio cereal boxes as part of a nationwide promotion. Most people tore open their cereal, saw the coin, and spent it without a second thought. But collectors later discovered that these Cheerios Sacagawea dollars had a completely different tail feather design on the eagle, bold, sharply detailed feather pattern that stands out from the regular issue. That single detail made all the difference. The standard Sacagawea dollar in fine condition only bring you a couple bucks. But if you have the Cheerios variety, we're talking staggering values. Circulated examples have sold for $25,000 to $40,000. Uncirculated specimens have gone for well over $100,000. And the very finest known examples, those few that look like they were struck yesterday, have broken the $450,000 mark. Can you imagine pulling that out of an old coin jar in your kitchen? That's the kind of find that gives every collector goosebumps. But wait, that's not the only valuable variety. Some 2000 Sacagawea dollars were struck on experimental planchets, including a few that were minted on pure copper nickel clad used for state quarters. Others have dramatic minting errors, double strikes, off-center strikes, or missing edge lettering on later years. These are coins that might look like mistakes to the untrained eye, but can command prices of $5,000, $10,000, or even $20,000 depending on the severity and condition. So, how do you identify if your Sacagawea dollar is just an ordinary piece of pocket change or a small fortune in disguise? First, check the reverse eagle's tail feathers. If you see a sharp, bold design with much more detail than the regular issue, you could be staring at the Cheerios variety. Next, check for striking errors. Is the coin off-center, double struck, or showing unusual metal surfaces? Lastly, condition matters. Even a small scratch can slash thousands of dollars off the value, while pristine examples can multiply in price tenfold. Now, here's the exciting part. The 2000 Sacagawea was mass-produced, with over 1 billion struck. That means millions are still sitting in bankrolls, dresser drawers, or tucked inside collections where the owner has no idea what they really have. And that's where the thrill comes in. Every time you come across one of these golden coins, your heart races a little. Could this be the legendary Cheerios dollar? Could this be the one worth nearly $500,000? The truth is, most will never know until they look closely. And that's the magic of coin collecting. A simple piece of metal that once bought a candy bar could now be worth enough to buy a car, a house, or even an early retirement. Next up, we have a coin that pays tribute to one of the most legendary figures in American history, the 18th President of the United States, Ulysses S. Grant. His leadership during the Civil War and his two-term presidency cemented his place in history. And when the U.S. Mint honored him on a golden presidential dollar, collectors immediately took notice. At first glance, it looks like any other modern dollar coin. The golden surface, the bold portrait of Grant staring forward, his name and years in office etched into the rim. But what most people don't realize is that hidden among these ordinary coins are some shocking rarities that could be worth a life-changing fortune. In fine condition. A typical Ulysses S. Grant presidential dollar may only fetch $1 or $2 above face value. That's where most collectors stop looking. But for those who know what to check, this coin can quickly leap from pocket change to the kind of payday that makes headlines. And here's where things get exciting. Some 2011 Ulysses S. Grant presidential dollars were struck with incredible mint errors. A few were discovered missing the edge lettering entirely, no date, no "In God We Trust," no "Pluribus Unum," completely blank. These are known as missing edge letter errors, and they've sold for thousands of dollars at auction. Even in circulated condition, collectors have paid $5,000 to $7,500. And when pristine and circulated examples appear, prices are sometimes over $25,000. But the true shocker lies in a handful of rare proof strikes and experimental errors. In one astonishing case, a Grant presidential dollar was discovered struck on the wrong planchet, a different coin's blank, giving it a bizarre silvery color instead of the golden hue. That single coin sold for well over $150,000. Imagine pulling what looks like a strange off-colored coin out of a roll, only to discover it's worth more than a luxury car. Collectors also hunt for double dies on these coins. A few rare Grant dollars show strong doubling in the inscriptions or lettering along the rim. Even light doubling can bring several $1,000s, while dramatic examples have been valued into the six-figure range. Now here's the thrilling part for anyone watching this video. These presidential dollars were minted in huge numbers, but they never circulated like quarters or dimes. Most went straight into rolls, boxes, and collections. That means countless rolls are still sitting unopened in banks, safe deposit boxes, and even forgotten in people's closets. For an older audience, especially, think about this. If you or your family bought U.S. Mint rolls back in 2011, you could literally be sitting on a treasure chest without even knowing it. In fine condition. A circulated Grant dollar may not grab attention at first glance, but what makes the difference is the detail. Check those rims carefully. Is the edge lettering missing or doubled? Hold it under bright light. Do you notice doubling in the inscriptions? And compare the color. Does it look silver gray instead of golden? These subtle details are the keys that separate a $1 coin from one worth hundreds of thousands. Just imagine opening a roll of these coins after a decade in storage and spotting that strange variety. It's the kind of discovery that gives every collector chills. One day, you think you're holding an ordinary presidential dollar. The next, you realize it could pay for a dream vacation, clear out your debts, or even buy a brand new home. That's the kind of shock value hidden inside these presidential dollars. And Ulysses S. Grant's issue is one of the most exciting of them all. Moving on, we come to the 2001D Sacagawea dollar struck in Denver and often overlooked as just another ordinary golden coin. But let me tell you, this one hides secrets that can turn your jaw to the floor. At first glance, the coin doesn't seem unusual. Sacagawea, carrying her infant son, Jean-Baptiste, graces the obverse, while a soaring eagle spreads its wings across the reverse. Millions were minted, and in fine condition. Most 2001D dollars might only be worth face value or a couple of dollars to casual collectors. But here's where the story gets shocking. Some 2001D Sacagawea dollars have been found struck on the wrong planchets, blanks intended for other U.S. coins. Imagine holding a Sacagawea dollar, but instead of that golden color, it looks silvery, coppery, or even oddly thin. That's because the coin was minted on a blank meant for a quarter or a foreign coin. One such dramatic mint error sold for more than $60,000. Another went for $95,000. All because it carried the wrong metal. And the very rarest miss strikes the ones with multiple errors combined, like being struck off center and on the wrong planchet, have approached a staggering 250,000. But it doesn't end there. Collectors also chase after double die varieties from the 2001D. Some show striking doubling in Sacagawea's hair and even along the rim lettering. Most people would dismiss this as just a little blur, but for the trained eye, that doubling can mean the difference between $1 and $15,000 to $25,000. Uncirculated double dies can reach well into the six-figure range. Now here's where it gets even wilder. A small batch of 2001D Sacagawea dollars was paired with experimental finishes coins that look like proofs, with deeply mirrored fields and frosted devices, but struck at the Denver Mint instead of Philadelphia. These mystery coins slipped out and left collectors puzzled. Today, they're so scarce that when one appears at auction, the bidding war is ferocious. Prices of $75,000, $120,000, and beyond have been recorded. In fine condition, the typical 2001D Sacagawea isn't going to make you rich, but that's the thrill of it. Most people never look close enough. They toss these coins in a jar, forget about them, or spend them on a coffee. Yet the difference between an ordinary dollar and one worth $250,000 can be as small as a line doubled in the lettering or a blank planchet mix-up at the mint. Think about that for a moment. A coin that cost you a single dollar at the bank could secretly carry the power to buy a new car, pay off medical bills, or even put your grandkids through college. That's the kind of shocking discovery collectors live for. So if you're holding a 2001D Sacagawea dollar in fine condition, don't dismiss it. Examine the color, study the details, and check for doubling or unusual metal. Because while millions of these are ordinary, just one mistake by the mint can transform it into a once-in-a-lifetime jackpot. And yes, these jackpots are still out there, waiting to be found. Next in our journey through presidential dollars, we come to a man whose legacy looms large in American history, the 7th President of the United States, Andrew Jackson. Known as Old Hickory, Jackson's fiery personality and strong leadership forever changed the nation. And when his portrait was struck onto a golden presidential dollar in 2008, it instantly became a favorite among collectors. At first glance, the coin looks like any other in the series. Jackson's bold image on the front, the Statue of Liberty on the reverse, and the edge inscriptions that make this series so unique. But the truth is, hiding within this coin are varieties and errors that have sold for shocking amounts of money. Now, in fine condition, a typical Andrew Jackson presidential dollar won't seem very special. You might get $1, $2, maybe $3 for it. Most people would toss it back into circulation. But here's the catch: some of these coins have errors so dramatic and so rare that their value climbs straight into the six-figure range. One of the most infamous issues with the Jackson dollar involves the missing edge lettering error. You see, all presidential dollars were supposed to have the date, the motto, "In God We Trust," and "E Pluribus Unum" inscribed around the edge. But in 2008, the mint had a serious problem. Thousands of coins slipped out of the presses completely blank, around the rim no lettering at all. To the average person, it looks like nothing more than a smooth edge. But to collectors, this error transformed an ordinary coin into a treasure. Circulated examples have sold for $5,000 to $8,000, while pristine uncirculated specimens have reached over $25,000. But it gets even crazier. A small number of Jackson dollars were discovered struck on the wrong planchets. Some ended up on planchets meant for Sacagawea dollars, giving them a slightly different color and weight. Others were struck on quarter blanks, leaving them undersized. These bizarre mint mistakes have shocked the collecting world, with prices climbing into the $150,000 to $200,000 range. Imagine spotting one of these oddballs in your change could pay off your mortgage in an instant. Then there are the double dies, another collector favorite. A few Andrew Jackson presidential dollars showed doubling in the inscriptions or even subtle shifts in Jackson's portrait itself. They may not jump out at first, but once identified, their value jumps dramatically. Even a light doubled die can bring $10,000 to $15,000, while dramatic, high-grade examples have gone for well over $100,000. Here's where the thrill really kicks in. Presidential dollars like the Andrew Jackson weren't widely circulated. The mint produced millions, but most went straight into collectors' hands, rolls, or storage. That means thousands of unopened rolls are still sitting in closets, safe deposit boxes, and forgotten bank orders from 2008. For collectors today, this is like buried treasure. You might open an old roll of Jackson dollars and pull out a smooth edge error worth more than a new car or worse. Spend it at the grocery store without even knowing what you had. So, what should you look for if you're holding an Andrew Jackson dollar in fine condition? First, run your finger along the edge. Do you feel the inscriptions? Or is it perfectly smooth? Next, look closely for any unusual metal color or size. A wrong planchet could mean a jackpot. And under bright light, check for doubling in the lettering or portrait. These tiny details can make the difference between a $1 coin and a coin worth over $200,000. That's the incredible part about coins like this. A small, golden-colored dollar that most people dismiss could secretly hold the power to change your life. And that's why the Andrew Jackson presidential dollar has become one of the most exciting coins in the series. And finally, we come to one of the most fascinating presidential dollars of them all. The coin honoring America's 22nd president, Grover Cleveland, from his first term in office between 1885 and 1889. Cleveland is unique in U.S. history because he's the only president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms, which means he actually appears on 2 separate presidential dollars. The first term issue, minted in 2012, looks like any other coin in the series. Cleveland's portrait on the obverse, the Statue of Liberty blazing on the reverse, and the famous edge lettering that defines these golden dollars. But what hides beneath this coin's surface will absolutely shock you. In fine condition, most Grover Cleveland first-term dollars are worth only $1 or $2 above face value. Nothing exciting, until you realize that a handful of these coins left the mint with errors so rare, they have become 6-figure legends. The most notorious is the missing edge lettering error. Just like we saw with Andrew Jackson's coin, some Cleveland dollars escape the presses completely smooth around the edges. At first, you might think it's no big deal, just a small oversight. But collectors will pay dearly for these. Circulated examples have fetched $4,000 to $6,000, while brilliant, uncirculated pieces can bring more than $20,000. But the real jaw-dropper lies in the wrong planchet strikes. A few Grover Cleveland dollars were discovered struck on experimental or foreign blanks, giving them unusual colors, lighter weights, or strange thicknesses. These bizarre mint errors aren't just curiosities, they're treasures. One example shocked the collecting world when it sold for over $175,000. Another, with multiple striking errors combined, pushed beyond $300,000. Imagine holding a coin that looks a little off, only to learn it's worth more than most people's retirement accounts. Collectors also chase doubled dies in the Cleveland series. Some rare pieces show doubling in the inscriptions on the obverse, or even faint shifts in the portrait itself. They may look ordinary to the untrained eye, but under magnification, those tiny errors could mean the difference between a $1 coin and one valued at $50,000 to $100,000. And here's something even more electrifying. Because Cleveland had 2 separate coins, one for his first term and another for his second, mix-ups at the mint have created crossover errors. A few dollars have been reported with mismatched dies, where one side reflects details not meant for that issue. These mysterious coins are so rare that collectors place almost no limit on their price. If one surfaces, the bidding frenzy could drive it well past $500,000. Think about it. You may have a Grover Cleveland dollar tucked away in a box, or maybe you received one in change years ago and forgot about it. Most are worth very little, but a tiny handful are worth staggering sums. And the only thing standing between you and a jackpot is whether you take the time to look closely. So, here's what you should do if you come across a Grover Cleveland dollar in fine condition. First, check the edge. Is the lettering missing or incomplete? Next, weigh the coin. Does it seem lighter or heavier than normal? Finally, under magnification for doubling in the lettering or portrait, because the difference between a common coin and one worth $300,000 or more is often invisible at first glance. And that's the thrilling truth of this series. 5 ordinary-looking presidential dollars that could secretly be worth fortunes. A Sacagawea dollar that might buy you a house. A Ulysses S. Grant dollar that could pay off all your debts. A 2001D Sacagawea hiding a jackpot. An Andrew Jackson dollar with the power to change your life. And now, a Grover Cleveland dollar that could send you straight into 6-figure territory. This is why coin collecting is so exciting. Every time you hold one of these coins, you're not just holding history, you might be holding a fortune. So the next time you come across one of these golden dollars, don't spend it too quickly. Take a closer look, because the treasure you've been searching for might be right there in your hands.